Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me on Sorare as Lairdinho. Joined as always by Sean Newsham, PSU fans 2 on Sorare today to talk about a topic that we have ignored for a long time for a number of reasons, but one that I thought was important to do now. And it's completely unrelated to the fact that one of my best friends signed up for Sorare like 2 days ago and was like, what do I do? And so I thought, this is what we need to do. You know what's funny about this, Sean? He saw the NBA announcement and was like, wow, they have soccer. And I'm like, oh, gosh. And I was like, so you want to do NBA? And he's like, no, I want to do soccer. And I was like, oh, all right. And he's like, what do I do? Like, what's next? And he did his common team, and he did it without talking to me. He's a New York City FC season ticket holder. He also loves Roma because he lived in Rome for a few years and decided to use the NYC as like his favorite team. So he's like, hey, I got Sean Johnson and I got Callens. And I'm like, sweet, you can use them for like 2 more games. You should have used Roma. But anyway, so if you thought the absurd concession that they gave up this week hurt you, boy, did it hurt his common team. But anyway, I was like, you should just play Threshold. And he's like, how much does that cost? And I was like, I don't know. I'll find out on Monday. And here we are.
I mean, subtle brag by you having friends. You know, that's a subtle brag, right? outside of Sorare, you have friends.
I do.
So kudos to you, I guess, on that. No, I mean, I told you this seems to be the most excited people have really been about something in a while. We had like 30 likes on your tweet that usually doesn't get tons of traction. However, usually since we moved the show to Friday or to Mondays, you like don't tweet it out until like way later than you normally do. So that's definitely part of it. But I actually said I was kind of excited to see this because you said $250. I'm like, wait, can that actually be done? And you're like, no. So
I think your real initial response is, how much is $250?
No, I know it's around like 0.2 ETH or something right now ish. I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know the actual amount.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I had to look it up.
But you told me that, and I was like, oh, well, that seems like I'm kind of interested to see how far we would get if we were building a threshold team, because like I do know a lot of people do that, and there's obviously some questions that go into that. So I thought it was an interesting topic to do, and definitely seemed like people were very interested in it in terms of the tweet that you sent out. Like you have 25 likes on the tweet, so that's more than we get on just announcing what you're talking about on the show.
Yeah, I had to like really think of the dollar amount. To be honest, I was going to go even lower, and I'll say this to everybody before we even like start talking about players. Sean and I haven't done anything to like prepare for this. Like, we don't have players lined up. I will admit that I looked up one thing, and it was only to get the thumbnail picture on for YouTube. And I'll go into why Stefan Nuts was he probably pronounces it Newts or something like that. But anyway, why he is the choice. But like, I think if I was like, can we build an ETH threshold team with $500? It'd be like, yeah, you can. And here are some players. But I don't think a lot of people who come into this game want to spend $500 right off the bat. And so I was like, let me see how realistically we can go. And I think 250 was just like a number I pulled. So I don't even know if it's doable. I think Goalkeeper, which is the issue that everybody comes up to, I think that's going to be the issue. I do think that there are some strategies for Goalkeeper that we'll talk about in terms of if you're not going to get a starter, kind of what kind of Goalkeeper you should get. But I want to see how cheap we can get. I think we're going to have to, we're really going to talk about like when this lineup can start, how you can make sure that you maximize the number of times you can use your cards together. So there were a lot of people who in the comments were saying like, oh yeah, you just get Asia and MLS. People who like jump into this game now, I don't think want to wait until February and March to play. So while I think that's the right strategy, I don't think it's the one that people want to do. Like, nobody signs up for a game and they're like, I can't wait to play in 5 months.
No, I think so. Yono Says Soccer on Twitter he gave the good idea. I think we should do both. Like, we should look at things in terms of like if we're preparing for it in 3 months, or in terms of if we're doing things today. So I think doing both makes sense.
Yeah, completely agree. So we are going to go through all of that. And I think it's a good exercise for us because I think you and I, based on where we are in our own Sorare play, we haven't had to do this. And I think there are many more people who are in this situation than they are in ours. And the goal of this show is to help people play. And obviously we tend to focus on SO5 as opposed to, trading or collectible or flipping or whatnot. And so I'm hoping that this can reach enough people that it actually makes sense. And we explain sort of the strategies that we would take if we started today. And I think the dollar amount is prohibitive enough where we're going to have to work for this. So thank you everybody who has joined us live. David Alves was in first. David Alves is a popular, or comes often, and every time I see the name, I think it's Danny Alves, and I'm like, oh wow, Danny Alves is here. But so sorry, David, unless Danny is a relative of yours. Hello to David and Danny. Sam D, ELMT20, Lauren, Hoodwink, Mike Baston, Roland Richard is here, ZM Star, Mayo, our boy Harry Trades. Good to see you. I'll see Harry tomorrow. And a bunch of others. Thank you guys for joining us. If you could all hit the like button on the video, whether you're here live or watching the replay, that is always very appreciated. So Sean, jumping in here, what do you think is like one of the first steps you take if you had this $250 idea in your mind? And I know for a fact that at one point in this show, you're going to be like, well, if you just spend 300, but we're not going to do that, Sean. We're not doing that today.
Yeah, we are. But I mean, you picked.
You're going to do it. I'm not doing it.
You picked probably too low of a. Well, no, you can do 250 without a goalie.
Yes.
You just cannot get a goalie. So let me throw this disclaimer in, and then I will not do it the rest of the time. Your goal with this lineup is going to be to generate enough ETH that you can then buy a goalie. And then you will have a goalie. My comment is that if you have a goalie, if you can afford it, and obviously like you might not be able to, this is why we're discussing on it with $250. If you have enough funds to buy a goalie, it likely makes more sense to buy the goalie because he's going to push you from no threshold to the low threshold to the upper threshold to the upper threshold, and a card.
Yeah.
Like by having the goalie, you will pay off having the goalie in a way faster time frame than you would have otherwise. So my disclaimer going into this, if you have the funds and can find a goalie that is locked in and that is a starter, it makes more sense to do it that way. And then like, even if like, I'm not saying like overextend yourself and buy a goalie and all that stuff, but like if you have, let's say you have $1,000 available or you have 250, well, you could put in 1,000, get your goalie, and then take that money back out instead of like building it to buy the goalie. You just take that money back out once you have enough to pay off what you put in for the goalie. So I'll start that out by stating that. And then also someone that is around sometimes, I actually just messaged him to see if he was watching the show. He hasn't responded, but SR Monkey is someone that he's bought a load of backup goalies over the last like 2 years. Like he literally just buys backup goalies. And over the course of the season, he ends up with like 10 starters.
Yeah.
Because he's buying guys in situations that are like murky. And so if he buys a guy in a situation that's murky and he knows who the locked in backup goaltender is, all of a sudden he just ends up with a starting goaltender. That is a really good way to do things as well. But maybe you do that as you start buying or as you start winning, you can start doing that because you can find goaltenders that are backups that are like clear as day backups for really cheap. So just a quick discussion on that, and then we'll get going. I'm just using this as an example. I guess I'm not going to use this as an example, but we'll talk about it as we go. Like if you have a situation where there is a very clear backup and there is a possible switch that could happen in the near future, whether it be injury or whether it be like this guy's just not very good and this team's going to get lit, it could make sense. Because like if you're playing threshold goalies, like if they get 30 points, that could be huge for you every single week. So anyways, that's my disclaimer for the whole show about goaltenders, and then we won't really discuss it again because we realistically are not going to have the ability to get goaltenders with $250.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a great place to start though. Not necessarily of like which goalkeepers can you buy, because I think at $250, the answer is none. And if you're really looking for a starter. But one of the weird reactions that we saw when common cards were taken out of rare competitions, is that people were buying like retired goalkeepers, and it makes sense. Like in theory, you're like, oh, if I'm gonna not buy a goalkeeper, but I need one now to enter a lineup, let me just get the cheapest one possible. But the problem with buying a retired goalkeeper is that there's zero upside. Like there's no way that they can become a starter. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people early on were like, well, now I have this card. Probably nobody's going to buy it now because there's no upside in the card. And while it does allow you to submit a lineup with 4 outfield players to hopefully get to 205 or 250 points, there's no upside. And yes, those guys are cheaper. But as you said, this is one of those rare opportunities, Sean, where I'm going to agree with you. You should probably just spend more to at least get a backup. And this isn't like the third string guy who never gets in the team sheet. Like there are backups that you can get. And frankly, I think for threshold stuff like this, and it's probably not even that different now with the new scoring matrix. But I think any goalkeeper is okay. Like I really don't like if you're like, this guy is the worst goalkeeper in the world. And obviously, like if there's a concern that he gets benched, then that's an issue. But as you said, like 30 points is a lot different than 0. And so like that's where you should
when you are fighting to get to 205 and 250, 30 points is massive. And like people were going to give as recommendations are capable of getting a card. Like they're not, it's not going to be like you can't get a card with these guys. You can't get a card with these guys without a goalie, most likely. But like everyone we're going to talk about, I imagine, is going to be capable. But a great example in regards to this is he's old and he's terrible. And I had one and we sold it, but Teton is dirt cheap. Before he got a start, you could have paid 0.025 and you got a game out of him. He is very clearly right now the backup to Understall for this season. I'm not saying go buy Teton. Like that, this isn't the person I'm saying to go buy, but like this is what we're talking about. He's not retired. He got 1 game, and that 64 points could be huge for that 1 game. And if Understall shattered his leg, he could have been long-term starter for that team. Like look at what happened again. This isn't who we're going to talk about here, but Blashwich, however much Blashwich was before Gulashi got hurt, we're going to see a massive amount of like, this is, so Blashwich
he was in June, he was at like 140.
Yeah. So you're talking $140. This guy is like,
he was 134 in October 1st.
So like in October, this guy was 134, which was like 0.1 ETH. He is now, I'm not saying this is long-term because it's not long-term, but like this guy is a starting goaltender for one of the top 15 teams in the world that plays midweek, and there's no other competition for him right now. Like you got, as of right now, he's at 5 starts right now in a row with no real indication that it's going to stop in the near future. So like just having this guy would pay himself off immediately.
So I think that's also the really big point here is that in the event that your backup becomes a starter, the price jump is so significant that it likely even allows you, at least in certain situations, this is one of them, where you could sell Blazwich and buy a different starting goalkeeper and still pocket some money. And so you're in this situation now where you end up with a starter and extra money that you can spend on the platform because of this significant price rise. Does it happen often? No. It cannot happen if you don't put yourself in this situation. So like these are the types of players that we talk about. The one that jumped out at me, now this is like a strategy that I've spoken about before. I think it was more with Andy than with you, but we've discussed it as well, is effectively like handcuffing other people's goalies. And this is the strategy. You like buy backups so that if something happens, then the prices shoot up. So I did this with Luis Barraza at New York City FC. What was the Gold Cup? Last year? 2 years ago?
Yeah,
whenever the Gold Cup. Yeah. So like Sean Johnson leaves for international duty. This is more of an MLS situation than European ones because they actually break for their international play. I got Thomas Hazel for the same reason. Like I knew that Maxime Crepeau at the time would leave for the Gold Cup. And it's like, if you can put yourself in those situations, and actually this is something that you and I have talked about on this show, of even just buying backup goalies who are U23. I mean, the upside there is really significant. And I see Harry in the comments mentioned Toby Layson. I imagine Layson is still way too expensive. Like, wasn't there talk that
there was a good indication that Vandervoort would be leaving, but
right.
I mean, Layson isn't going to be a discussion for this. He's too expensive. Like, you're not buying U23 guys for this typically. But Layson's probably spiked at the end of last year when he got a game because he spiked. But that your point's great. Like, if you have Blashwich, right? The idea isn't necessarily like you're getting this guy to be like your long-term starting goaltender, because that's not really what you're doing. You're getting this guy that when he gets a start, if he gets a start, you can sell him. So like Blashwich 8x over what you paid for him from a 1 month span, not even like a 2 week span, a 3 week span. Like Blashwich went 8x over like obviously a day.
Sure.
From what it was, but like your idea is like you get Blashwich, like he literally 8x that day. Your idea is get Blashwich, decide, all right, is Blashwich a locked in starter permanently, or if he's not, sell him, and then you just continue doing this process, and you can continue buying other options like this. Because the thing is, with a threshold type team, you cannot have your goalie get benched. If you have a goalie and he gets benched, that is catastrophic. If you buy a bunch of cheap backups and one of them becomes a starter, fantastic. You cannot buy a starter that gets benched. If you buy a starter that gets benched, you are just in a world of hurt for a while.
And we know a few people who have done that.
We do. So we advised them not to do it. They did not listen. They got punished.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you never know. Like, there are obviously some situations that are less secure than others. And so avoiding those situations is probably better. Those guys are still probably cheaper. It's not like it's some secret that somebody's job is in question. I go back to every time there's like a questionable goalkeeper situation, I go right to Toronto FC with Quentin Westberg and Alex Bono, and you just like never knew who was going to start. And one got benched, and then 3 games later, the other one, they come back. So there are situations where you should probably avoid, even if they are dirt cheap. I'll say with this Blashwich situation, you're probably buying one of the more expensive backups, because obviously he's champion Europe midweeks. Like, people probably aren't pricing that in, but he was a starter. And so like the price drop looks steep here, but it's like not really that steep for a guy who wasn't playing.
Poor Trip and B.
Trip and B with the Quentin Westberg trigger. Sorry, Trip. Anyway, so like if you look at the lower leagues, like you're most likely going to be able to find guys who are a little cheaper that you can try to take a punt on.
Correct.
The question I have for you is, do you start here or do you end here?
I think you end here, because I think the idea is you want to get realistically. I think that the course of action that you should be going with is fill out your non-goaltenders and then figure out how much you have, and then buy a couple backup goalies and hope to, or if you have the funds for that. I don't know if you were going to have the funds for that, because you realistically want to keep a little bit in reserve in case you need to replace someone.
Right.
And another key with this is, because you are likely going to be playing a man down, you have to have correlation. Everybody has to play the same game weeks. You cannot have guys that are separated and then just have random game weeks where they don't play.
Yeah, I think that's really vital. And this is like correlation that we don't necessarily always discuss. I think people hear correlation and like, oh yeah, I'll just stack a team or whatever. And I think in the gallery reviews, or maybe it was in that $1,000 limited show that we did, but we were talking about how it's like, it's really important, if you don't have a lot of cards and your budget isn't that high, that they all play at the same time, or at least every game week. You can get, most likely in this situation, 4 cards out. And if you're playing a backup goalkeeper, then it doesn't really matter when they have a game, because they're not going to play anyway. So if they don't have a game, then it's okay. In that instance, I actually think that you can get away with a backup goalkeeper who is not part of the same region as your outfield players. So like if you wanted to buy 4 champion Europe outfield players, and you're like, I'm just going to go buy a few MLS or Argentina or Brazil backups, I think that's actually okay, because they're going to get 0 now anyway. So I think it's okay to wait that time.
Yeah.
So going into the 4 outfield players, is there any reason to start at any one position?
No. Maybe forward. Maybe forward, because I think forward's a little bit more tricky, but it doesn't realistically matter per se.
So we're going to
You're
start
not
at
looking at
least.
Champion Europe at all.
I wouldn't say there's nobody in Champion Europe.
You should not be looking in Champion Europe. I'm going to say that.
All right, I'm gonna disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into the why in a bit. But,
I mean, okay. That I'm not going to say you're not, but like, okay. Anyways.
So basically, the way that I went about this, and I know that there are different ways for people to kind of attack it, but I basically just go right to the live market, because if I'm trying to buy cards, these are probably where I'm going to buy them. And you can track auctions as well. I highly recommend that you create a watch list with the guys that you want, so that you can track those as well, just to see where the prices are. But in terms of like guys who actually play, like I just want guys who play. Like I don't need to set like an SO5 average to 60. Like I'm not going to be able to afford those guys.
You might. I don't agree. The most important part of the equation, they have to play every game.
Right.
You can't have guys that do not play. So that is definitely number one. But I don't agree with you. I think you can get some guys that average okay amounts as well. Certain guys. They may be older though.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that you don't need them. I'm just saying I wouldn't like restrict the search parameter to like just those guys, because I actually like, I don't think you're going to get as many guys on this list as you think you are.
I mean, I think I can get some guys. The only question I have, I guess, is forward, because like I have an idea of some cheaper mids that I can fit in, but forward is where the issue becomes.
Yeah, somebody mentioned
which is why I said that's probably where you start.
Yeah, it looks like Marty won. Yeah, said forwards are usually the most expensive based on quality to price, so that's where you start. So, what did I put in here? I think that didn't even work. Oh wait. So floor price by 0.1, which is probably more than we can spend anyway, but at least allows us to get kind of a look into what types of players that we're looking for. So I included Champion Europe only because, like, I don't think that like bottom level Serie A players are that bad. And if we're really just trying to get to 205 or 250 points, I'm not sure they're all that much more than guys from the Austrian Bundesliga or the Jupiler League. And there's probably more information in terms of like when those guys are going to play. So I think it's okay. I'm not saying you need to do it, but like I'm at least going to include them in my search if it ever actually comes up here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Like, you're gonna bottom end guys in. To be fair, what probably is the best strategy? Well, I guess it doesn't even really matter, because you're really just trying to hit guys that make sense within this situation. But if you get a guys on bottom end Serie A team and then they get relegated to like D2 and stay there, the issue is a lot of them probably won't stay there if they get relegated.
It's a jackpot though.
It is jackpot if you get relegated, like Burnley situation. Like Burnley went from Premier League to Championship. It really helps a lot of their players because they now are one of the better teams in the league instead of one of the worst.
Right. So we see a few guys here. I'm not sure why someone like Lucas Vasquez is popping in, but anyway, we've got a bunch of guys here who look like they're around the 110 to 120 range. Obviously, there's some are higher, but we're not necessarily trying to get them. Did you have like a thought in your mind that you would spend the same amount for each position, or is just what we were saying before that forwards tend to be a little more expensive?
I figured you're going to have to spend like 0.1 for a forward, and then the other positions like 0.05 ish. So like 0.1 for forward, then like 0.03, 0.04.
Yep.
For the other position. How much ETH do we have? Did you tell me how much ETH we have?
It's going to be like let me see here. Like 0.18-ish. Let's see. 240 is 0.18.
What? Interesting. Then you probably need to go lower. You probably need to go. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher. You probably need to go to like 0.075 for a forward or something.
Yeah, that puts us in. That's $100 basically. Puts us in the Finn
Correct.
Stokers category.
Correct. Which, like, I mean, that definitely is somewhat reasonable, except for the fact he's not playing games.
This seems bad. Yeah.
Yeah. The rest, like, if you go back further, it's not bad, but the most recent stuff is more bad. So yeah, so Stokers is not gonna fit the bill here.
I'm also going to say that like this strategy requires more work than anything else. I mean, I talked about it last week with Andy. Obviously, the less money you spend, the more work you're going to have to put in, and so
correct. I don't actually know if that's
out.
true, because I think if you put in like the least amount of money, you actually have not tons of work because you have a very limited amount of people, but you need to be in and out of people pretty frequently, I think, to make things happen. Like you have
in terms of trading trading in and out of guys.
Yeah, you have to be like in and out of guys. Like if someone like takes off and goes to the moon, like you have to be willing to move into someone else that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, I agree. Based off the schedule, and a number of people have touched on this in the chat. So we're filming this on October 24th. We obviously have a World Cup coming up, and we're getting somewhat close to the end, or to the end of the first half of the Austrian and Russian seasons.
Correct.
And those breaks are significant. They basically start up again days, if not a couple weeks before MLS, K-League, and J-League. So I would not touch anyone from those leagues at this point. Like we're basically looking at Jupiler, Eredivisie, the Turkish Super League, which is the one that a lot of people are touching on. That I think that's the one that you need to go for.
I would agree with the Turkish league. I also think like some of the second divisions make some sense. I think that those would be good options per se. I definitely think that you want to be looking there instead of elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the only issue with the new second division teams, so like Segunda Division in Spain and Serie B, is that they're just not that many cards yet. And so if you're dependent on auctions and there's just going to be a bigger break that, you're going to end up having to pay more, to be honest.
Correct.
Somebody mentioned Ligue 2. I think they take a decent break as well. Like they don't play through the World Cup. That's like something that everybody keeps talking about, that like Turkey and the Jupiler League, I believe, start up the day after Christmas.
That makes sense.
But a lot of the bigger leagues start like first week, second week of January. It's not that long of a break, to be honest. Once you start playing Sorare, every week feels like a month. And so it does feel like you're waiting forever for these cards to come back. But effectively, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, looking through this, it is tough to find what you're looking for here.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find locked-in starters for.
Yep. Mike Basson saying Scotland starts before Christmas as well too, so that's absolutely helpful.
Yeah.
So
I'm not worried about us finding I'm not worried about us finding people in the other positions. I'm not worried about midfield and defender. I know.
Yeah. Agreed.
I just am having trouble finding a forward that I am comfortable buying. Because again, like we are talking about, you are going to be going at this without a goalie. All of these guys have to play every game, or you are just not going to get the job done.
Yep. I think we're also going to depend on people in the chat right now, because I know it sounds crazy, but Sean and I are not familiar with every footballer on the planet. That's true. So I pull up this guy, Rufo, from, I don't even know who he plays for. Sandefjord. Oh, what is that? Denmark?
Norway. They go on a break too. You don't want.
They have a break too. You're right. Yeah. So one of the things you can see here, upcoming games, looks like we don't have anything after 322. So unfortunately, I think Rufo gets tossed.
Okay, I have someone that is interesting.
Hit me.
Alan Forrest.
It sounds like somebody in Scotland. No offense to.
He is in Scotland, plays for Hearts.
What do we got here? All right. $110 floor.
Does not start every game, but plays every game. Starts a majority of the games. Has some upside spikes, which you need.
Yep.
You need that in this situation. So I think he is someone that maybe is someone we could look at here.
All right. I'm going to start a watch list so that we can actually track these guys.
Like I said, I am struggling to find some people that really fit this, what we're looking for. Because I don't think that we're going to find someone that starts like 100% of games at this price point.
Of course not.
Might be a bit difficult.
So another thing we can do here is you can even just use our similar players from your boy Alan Forrest. So how did Alan Forrest get to your attention?
Because I'm looking at the player rankings and going down.
Okay.
Player rankings. I don't like.
That's also another good way to do it.
This is another thing too, and this is why SorareData is great, is because everyone has a different way of using it.
Yeah.
I hate some of the ways you use it, which I'm sure you hate some of the ways I use it. Like
Yeah.
I don't use it in the way you were just using it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So Isaac Mbenza, let's check him out. He looks like someone that could make some sense. And especially because I know Zarawi left. So like they are down a forward, and makes me indicate that Mbenza is more valuable. So I think he probably makes some sense. What's his price point?
His floor is at 115. Last sale was 1.4, so 115 is what you can get him for. There's an auction right now.
That seems like a realistic option for us.
Okay. And then let's see. Austria. Here's a Connor Shields. Anyone know who this guy is? He looks real cheap. $85. Oh, this looks ugly.
Doesn't start enough for me.
No, I got a red card though, so that's probably why he sat out.
That is true.
Assist off the bench. And
I got possibly our winner here, Laird.
Okay.
Lucas Anderson.
Is that
what's the Danish league? When does the Danish league go on? Lucas, L-U-C-A-S.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When does the Danish league go on break? Or do they not have one?
Looks like they come back February 18th. That seems like
so they go on pretty much the same break as these other guys we're not looking at. Yeah. But look at his scoring and stuff. He would have been a good fit because, like, look at that.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Would have been a great fit.
Yeah. Oh, playing as a cam? Wonder if he's taking set pieces. Well, getting a few small sets. Nothing crazy. All right. Whoops. I'm going to try to pull up some of the guys that people have been recommending in the chat.
Do that.
Stefano Okaka.
Oh, Trader XB. We are well familiar with Melly Muhlenstein. We are the fan club for Melly Muhlenstein. So that one's definitely not someone you got to look at.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. So Okaka, who, let's see, Marty One is the one who suggested that you get the plays every game for the most part.
But to be fair, that is probably all you can expect here.
Maybe. I mean, a 97 is like with a yellow. That's nice.
Yeah, to be fair, his upside games are pretty good. And to be fair, that part of his issue in the rotation layer is because of midweeks. He's rotating midweeks.
Yep.
Or no? Well,
he played the midweek, took the weekend off. Played the midweek, took the weekend off.
Correct. Okay. So like that's good. That's favorable for you. That's kind of what you want.
Yep. Okay, I like that. And then Roland put in Yadabare. Is that how you would say it? Which one? Let's see. We've got two of them. This one's in Turkey, so I assume it's this one. 36 years old, $160. It seems like a lot.
That's probably a bit too much.
I wonder if... Yeah, yes, great player to have. I think it might be a little too expensive.
Yeah.
Midweek utility for 110. Is that maybe the floor is a little ambitious? No, 146.
That's probably a bit too much for what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. But thank you, Roland, for that one. ELMT said that Messi might be a good choice. Probably, I agree. Nobody says ETH grinding threshold like Messi. We've got another one here. Let's see what Clinton. Oh no, that's the. There he is. I didn't even know that Clinton Njai was in.
I had
Turkey.
no idea he was in Turkey.
Had no idea. But
it's better than, like, I would rather see the top part of that compared to this,
sure.
the bottom, more bottom. Like, it seems like he's moving into more playing time.
Yep.
Which is good.
$95. Oh, that's certainly worth putting on the list. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we can be a little bit more risky if they're cheaper, right? Like, we can take a bit more risk. Okay. I could have one. I don't know why he wasn't playing as much earlier, but Duje Kop is in Croatia.
What's their break? As somebody who has enough Croatian guys that I should know. End of January. Oh, January 20th. I guess that's not terrible. That is an impressive number of yellow starts.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you're goal dependent.
$73. That's not so bad.
It's cheap enough that he's at least an option.
Yep. Another 73 is this Brit Assombalonga. Assombalonga. This is when I need Sam Ty here because he seems to know how to pronounce everyone's name.
Okay, I got one.
This looks like a little too.
Oh, never mind. I had one, but it was Austrian Bundesliga.
Yeah, so they can play again in May or whenever they come back.
Yeah, so that's just not going to get the job done. So looking at this, I mean, we can I might have one, maybe. Let's see.
OP said, "Look at Borvin for 4," but I don't see a Borvin coming up. So,
Jordan White.
What's that?
Jordan White.
All right, I'll come back to Jordan White. I think Scotland is just filled with these guys.
Yeah.
$62, never scores, always starts. Sweet.
That's what we're looking for. Like, I will say that this is not.
No, this is not what we're looking for. This is what we know we're getting.
Correct. This is what you're trying to lock in from your forward isn't the guy where you're making the threshold. Does that make sense? Your forward, the guy you need him to start, and if he scores a goal, awesome. You're trying to get to 200 points occasionally. This is why I said it's difficult to hit 205 points with these guys because obviously they are not very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the break here is the issue with this guy, Bervin.
Yeah, so he's in Norway, so that's definitely an issue from that perspective.
Yeah. Utility through the summer. Yeah, I'll get that. We'll get to melee. Let's see. Jetmir Topali is another one that somebody has. Joe is. This looks a little more encouraging. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure I see the difference. So I feel like we're finding a lot of guys that are similar and yet $30 more. Like, it seems like the Turkey guys cost like the last. Nobody here is impressive.
I will disagree. Topali's the most like locked in starter we seem to have. Like, this is the most locked in starter we've had.
Okay.
And he's younger and his age is better, which does matter. So I will disagree with you. I think that this one is definitely, of the people we've looked at, he is the most appealing to me.
Okay. I'm in. Mike Basson saying Andy Carroll. That's a fun one. Let's see. Oh, there's Joe Hoodwink said Jordan White. So Julius Schwarber, I can't even see that. Julius brought up a guy that I love because I happen to have it super rare, but I'm thinking he's much more expensive now. So this is a weird situation. Wolk Janssens, I assume it's Janssens, has 38 defender cards. All of his new cards are defenders, and he plays center back, but he's been on the platform for years as a forward, so he has 624 forward cards. The defender card scores much better than the forward, but the forward card is quite good. So
we have this tricky situation. The forward card is quite good.
What's that?
Said for the purposes of what we're trying to do here, the forward card is quite good.
Yes. So the only thing you have to be cognizant of is that you don't buy the defender card.
Correct.
So it looks like the 2020 is a forward card. We're at like 160. I like this guy. I don't like him enough to spend $170 on his forward card.
That is fair. Yes. All right. So I think we have some forwards. So I think we should move on to midfielder defender now.
So there were people who mentioned some Champion Europe guys. Gamero was the one that like jumped out.
I did see Gamero, and Gamero was really hot at one point, and I think he cooled off because I won a super at one point. I mean, Gamero is a great option.
I mean, at $119, that seems
that's actually probably a better option than we've seen elsewhere.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So I definitely think we had Gamero.
Yeah, and look at you ignoring Champion Europe. So a few others that people brought up. Mike saying Stephen May and Nicky Clark of St. Johnstone. We've got another Jordan White reference. Yeah. I think we got the guys that we were talking about, which is helpful. So those are the guys you need. The ones who likely have like an L40 or an L15 of 38 to 43. A nice benefit. If you want to play underdog, these guys fit right in. And so, you don't, it's weird because we're basically building an underdog lineup, but we're trying to chase threshold. I don't think you're necessarily like, it almost makes sense for underdog to be like as you're building your gallery, that like, that's the next place to go instead of, I mean, obviously I think we both agree that getting a starting goalkeeper helps, but in terms of progressing, I think the next step is underdog. Sorry, the last one was Clemente Montes. Oh, he's in Chile, so not quite where we're going yet. Yeah. All right.
That's a bit too much. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So those are the four forwards that come up. Sean and I are not telling you to go buy all these guys. We're not telling you to buy any of them. But like, these are the types of situations, the types of players that can help most likely get you to 205. I don't think we're realistically trying to get to 250. I mean, obviously we want to get to 250 every week, meaning fantasy points. 205 is probably more reasonable with only 4 players. And these are the guys that hopefully will get you there. I'm going to just do midfielder and defender together because I think that's fine. Yeah, I think we both agree that you can find values. The scores that you're going to get from these guys are going to be more consistent than the forwards. Yes. You'll probably be able to get them cheaper. And they basically don't matter. Not that they don't matter, but like, it doesn't matter if you have a better midfielder than a defender or vice versa. You just need the fantasy points here. And you have guys like that pop up right away. Paul Hanlon, who scores great. Defender card, center back for Hibs, and these scores are actually pretty awesome to me. Doesn't pop at all, and for what did I say it was? How much money is this? $65? Like, that's pretty good to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a pretty solid option. I mean, that's in a league that we have named quite a few people in. So like, that makes sense. I think realistically, these guys need to be in the $50 to $60 range to make this work. Yep. So we might even need to go a bit cheaper than that, but definitely something that like.
Are you okay if we finish this exercise with 4 outfield players instead of like 6?
Yeah, I think you pretty much have to have 4. I think you're looking at 4 outfield players and goalie. Like, that's pretty much what you're looking at. And then as you generate slowly, you can maybe get more people in.
Yeah. Yeah. So who brought this up? JMO10 said, brought up Christian Montano at Livingston, a good option for a midfield. Got an L15 of 49, L5 of 52, mostly starts. I have no explanation for this DNP because I don't know him at all, but a few decisives, nothing like banging 100 in game week 302 to make people look at you. But I actually think this isn't the type of player you want.
I would agree. You are looking, well, You need some oomph here, but your oomph needs to be like more consistent.
Right.
And you're like when you can't have a bunch of 40s and 30s because the issue is like we just talked about, like forward's not going to get the job done here. You need your defenders and midfielders to like get the job done, and that's just not really getting the job done.
Right. Most weeks.
Yeah.
And he got hurt in last game.
Yeah.
So many people have brought up Robert Snodgrass, a player who is most likely has a nice place in your heart as well as mine, thanks to our old DFS days. He is at Hearts right now. You're basically just buying the West Ham card. I don't think he's had any new cards, but $90 floor. He just returned. I believe I remember hearing Quinny talk about Snodgrass just coming back. He's going to probably be on all set pieces. The only hesitation I have with Snodgrass is it seems like he gets hurt all the time.
And he's very old.
He's so old. He's like 6 years younger than me.
He's older than me. So
he's just ancient, this guy. My God. So I get it, but I'd probably skip it, especially at $90 for those scores. But I get it. Like, I get it.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
And then the issue is too, is like I'm like looking through the list here, like I have found good options that are even cheaper that are in Russia. And it just doesn't get you the job done that you need to get done because of that.
So we're saying that though only because of today's date. Like
Correct.
If it was August, granted these prices are probably higher in August, or it's February, those players become extremely helpful. But buying them now, you're basically buying mid-season prices, and you're not getting them until the beginning of other seasons like MLS and MLS and K-League and J-League, that you're almost like better off buying those cards, because if you're just going to wait, at least get the cheaper ones that will have longer utility.
I have a good one for you, Laird. Antunes.
Oh, that is a good one.
He's in Portugal, which we did not have a forward for, but he is quite like he's legit good. Like legit puts up good scores. A little bit less stable, but like he spikes, which I think is what you want because his spikes are a bit more frequent. Like he spikes 50% of the time per se.
Yeah, I'm laughing because you're like, he's a little less stable, as I see a 99 and an 11.
Yeah. No, I mean more like he has some like 35s in there, but like overall, Antunes, I imagine he's on set pieces based on my familiarity.
He looks like he's older than Snodgrass, though.
He is old. I mean, I'm not saying he's not old, but I'm assuming he takes set pieces for that.
Yeah, he definitely takes some.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that's a good shout. That's an interesting one also because he's cheap, but there aren't really that many cards. Like he only has the sporting cards.
Correct.
So Andy Considine is how I would say this name. I don't watch any Premiership, so apologies if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names. But this guy seems great to me. It's another center back. Does he have? He's a defender card. Yeah, he fits the bill perfectly.
Agreed. Dirk Abels.
Like I should buy this guy's super rare. That's how I'm feeling about it.
There you go, Laird. Dirk Abels, I think, is an option in the Eredivisie.
$50.
Yep. I'm assuming he was injured with a slight knock based on him like subbing off and then missing a couple games and then subbing on. So I'm assuming he had some slight injury issues, but as you see, he's got some upside as well.
Yeah. 53 AA. That's pretty. Sorry, I got to click it and find out about that one. 12. He just did it all. Simple as that.
Just stat padded.
Love that. Love to see that. So yeah, let's put. So he's another defender. I think we're getting too many defenders. Not too many, but I don't think we're finding enough mids.
Well, yes. So on to the midfielders. So like basically we
have zero midfielders, in fact.
Well, I mean, you were just going to all the mids, Laird.
I was just taking everybody's suggestions here. So Roland just brought up Mark Vandermarl. I actually heard this guy's name earlier today because I was listening to the most recent end product pod. Stish was talking about buying him for the underdog 45. I owned this guy super rare for a bit. He was a left back last year, and then he moved to center back and had these like better games at center back. Obviously, you can see I don't have him anymore, but yeah, he can put up some like really decent scores.
Was this your Van Overeem pairing?
What's that?
Was this your Van Overeem
It
pairing?
was. It was. Thanks again for that card.
No, he makes a lot of sense. That looks like a card that makes quite a bit of sense.
This one, yeah, absolutely. So who was that? Roland, good call on that one. And then Bull Star says Ashton Taylor. See what we got here. Another Premiership player, $69. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely fits the bill.
Hell yeah.
That looks pretty great.
All right. I'm going to do one more. Oh, Johnny Cash says Michael Pinto. I actually have a Pinto limited that I bought for some unknown reason. Let's see here. It's probably
he's just a bit too expensive.
My yellow dot should be right at the top. Oh, it's not at the top. All right.
Okay.
But yeah, 118 is a little too expensive. You're right. He has been banging recently, but well, again, it would be a great card to have. I think it's just a little too expensive for our purposes here. And then who do we got here? Christian Malinoff, $38.
That's okay. I think you're gonna need cheap, and he is cheap. And you know who's actually been really good, and this is probably too expensive for what we're doing, but Roman Zobnin's been really good this year for Spartak. Like really good. Like it might be to a point where we would like want to get him if we were doing Russia. Like he's been like really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really good. Yeah, I think if you're willing to wait on Russia, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a long wait. Let's see. What we got.
So unfortunately, we're not doing that. But
yeah, like March 4th is their first game after this break. Like that is nuts.
That is a long time.
Like MLS is back fully by then.
And MLS is back. Not to be confused with MLS is back tournament.
Correct. Good call. Johnny Cash is asking, but do these cards guarantee thresholds? No.
Nope.
No guarantees anywhere.
They do not.
No. So yeah, I think that's no. So I'm going to take the defenders off of our list here. So, or not off the list, off of our search. So we can see kind of what midfielders we can find for appropriate prices. David Silva, that's nuts. I'm not sure we're spending $86, but like
he doesn't play every game. He has been. Wow. That's right. He hadn't been playing every game. Yeah. I looked at him at some point and was like, oh, he just doesn't even play enough that you could even have.
Yeah, that's enough. Unfortunately, like enough DNPs were like sporadic that probably kill you. He might be the oldest player we've talked about so far. So
true. All right, here's one in Turkey. Onur Ergun. ONURERGUN. Sorry, I have the hiccups right now.
There you go. $47. Sorry, we've got an L15 of 45, L5 of 42, but 100% games played. Coming off a tough game where he had a yellow for 23 points, but otherwise, yeah, I think those seem okay. 75 without, that was with a decisive, but that's fine. 63 without after a few sub appearances. And he's going for $47. Sure. He was a mid? Yeah, okay. Let's see if there are any comparable players here. Similar players, if we'll call them that. It's crazy to see guys like this. So it's like he's $47. And you pull up similar players, and he's similar to Filip Kostic, who's 463. And like, this is why I like this page so much. This is literally like one of my favorite pages on the site. Similar players, because you can find, this is how you find guys like this. Let's see. Hoodwink is saying Johnny Hayes, who is currently hurt, which can't say that's helpful. But let's see what Johnny from Aberdeen. I guess we're just going to do a Premiership stack.
It definitely looks very likely.
Yeah, these are great scores. Even without the decisives, like he's fine.
So it looks like I might have one that looks okay. Stamboli in Turkey. He looks like he was probably injured to start the season, or injured at the end of the season and then injured to start the season. But like, if I look back to his previous log before what looks like an injury, he was pretty good.
Was that in Turkey, those scores? Oh, they were.
Same team, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, it looks like he's coming back to like full fitness where he's playing every game and everything.
Yep. One thing to watch out for Stambuli is that he has a ton of defender cards as well.
Yeah.
So depending on what you are trying to do, it looks like the midfield card actually, well, they score about the same average wise. So yeah, just make sure whatever you're trying to fill gets filled with the right card. And I say that as somebody who consistently buys the wrong one. Arianet Ferrati from Fortuna. What do we got here? That was another who brought that up. Mike Baston brought that up. These scores seem solid.
Not enough consistency for me here.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's enough double-digit all-around scores. It's weird that he gets them more in draws and losses than more draws. They're playing better than I thought, Fortuna. Look at that run. Unbeaten in 6.
Yeah, it's impressive because they are not great.
No.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what all the DNPs are.
Yeah, so that's something like, I guess that's a key that we should mention too. Like, this is
all last season though.
If you are looking to do this, you really need to make sure you are familiar with the players that you're buying and familiar with like their position in the team, familiar with like previous injuries. I looked at Dickman a little bit ago, and he just was not great. I mean, I thought other options were better. Otherwise, I would have brought him up.
Yeah. I mean, effectively, you just got to do the math that like a 45 average amongst 4 guys doesn't get you there, and obviously XP helps, but like you really need the 50 or the 52 out of everyone to get.
You need that spike, and that spike gets you there.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean,
you don't need everybody to spike.
So like, I think a person that makes a lot of sense based on what we're talking about is Johnny Hayes, who mentioned a few times. I just don't know what the injury is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the injury is with him. So like, I can't full on recommend it because I don't know if I'm recommending someone that just died and is out for like the year or something.
Mm-hmm. Resurrected after a year. Gary mentioned Fabian Kunz. The second division Bundesliga, 2 Bundesliga probably has a decent break as well, right? I mean, end of January they come back, just like the top division. So, and then Dominic Kor, who is in the top level in Germany, $63. I think it's I don't even know if that's good enough, to be honest. The spikes help, but
definitely,
but they're there. But yeah, like what we're saying with like spikes, like obviously the expectation is that your forward is going to be the one that's spiking because they're the ones scoring. Most likely they're not scoring. You're not going to get like a guy who consistently scores goals for $70. So, you're going to have to find your spikes elsewhere. But you really only need hopefully everyone scores kind of around where they do, and then one spikes, and that's what allows you to get. You don't need all of them to spike at the same time.
Correct. You realistically need like 175 a week and then 350s, and then you hit the lower end threshold, obviously.
Right.
But that goes to our point is like you are those 30 points we just talked about, like those 30 points in that situation would get you the high threshold. Like not having a goalie effectively was going to cost you like 0.1 per game week in regards to things. Not 0.1, 0.01, because like typically it will cost you a level is my guess. Not every week, but most weeks, a lot of weeks at least, it will cost you a level. So like maybe not 0.01, but 0.005. Like it'll cost you 0.005 every week not having a goalie.
Yeah. And I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier for those of you who are not actively playing already. 205 points gets you $25 worth of ETH, and then 250 points gets you $50 worth of ETH. So every time you hit 205, $25 hits your account, and that's what you use to build towards potentially other players.
Correct.
Who brought this one up? Julius brought up Gustavo Campanaro, who $69 for these scores looks great to me.
Looks fantastic. That looks like one of the best ones we've seen.
Yeah, this might be the best call of the day.
Yeah, that's really good.
I don't know anything about this guy, but he's going on the list.
Yep. All right, let's go take a look at the list, Laird, and let's compile the info we have and come up with a list. I don't think we need to do the one for like in the future, because looking at this, there was plenty of guys in Russia. There's definitely plenty of American guys and plenty of guys in Asia that can get this done for you. So like, I don't think we need to go into that. You guys can do that and like basically build for now and then build out that time frame later.
Yeah, completely agree. I'll say that we may do a show on that anyway, of like I think a lot of people are looking at buying MLS and Asia right now because prices are so low. So maybe we'll do that next week. We'll see it. But I don't think we need to go through a whole threshold of those players now, because like I said, I don't think anybody who joins now wants to wait 5 months to play. Correct. And so here we are. So yeah, so this is the list. Let's see how many. And again, like we haven't touched Goalkeeper at all, other than what we said earlier. Like,
correct.
That I don't think if you have a $250 budget, you're playing with a starting goalkeeper.
Correct. It's
so
not
as
a
simple as that.
Outcome.
Yeah. So I guess we probably should at least see what goalkeepers cost.
I mean, I know that you can just find a goalkeeper that is not a DNP that's like on a team for cheap, effectively.
I mean,
Kenny Stepp has played a game. No,
not all that recently.
Okay.
In his life, yes.
Yes, at some point in his life.
Yep.
The idea here is you get someone that's not like ancient, and you just find someone that's like, yeah, like I'm not buying Walk, right? Because like he's just not going to play.
Like, I mean, Blazwich wasn't going to play either.
Yeah, no, I know, but like he's really old. I would rather have someone that's not really old if I can.
That's fair.
The older you go, the less likely they're ever going to be relevant for you.
Sure. Yeah, even just starting out, I don't think it's worth spending any reasonable resource on a goalkeeper.
No. You're looking to spend like $30 here, $20 to $30 realistically for someone that obviously I would spend more time here than I would. Like, I'm not just going to come in and just buy someone. Like, I'm going to look for someone that I'm like, this guy has a realistic path to playing. And maybe it's not like this guy's the backup, or it could be like this guy is the backup, or maybe this guy's going to leave at some point, like, and possibly play elsewhere, something like that.
Yeah, I think the price that you're quoting is guys who will literally never play.
Yeah, but Teton was on that list, and Teton played.
Were you getting him for that cheap, though?
I mean, it was like 0.025. Isn't that like $30-$40?
It is.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
$33.
Like if you spread it out to 3 months, but you might even get cheaper than that.
I think that 33 was the 31 was the floor.
You're spending so I think you want to be in like the $20 to $40 range here. So yeah, I mean, we should just find a goalie that will make sense as well. And like you said, the goalie doesn't make sense, but like obviously the younger of a goalie you can find, the more likely they are to get a chance at some point. If you get someone that's 39, like they're likely not going to play anywhere. But if you don't have the funds to do that, that's okay.
Yeah, I think the priority, like I literally started this by saying I don't think you should get somebody who's retired. But if like literally that's all you have, like I think that's okay. Like go play.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think we go other positions, then we come back here.
Okay.
Because you'll find out exactly how much you have left.
Right. So these are the forwards we got.
Based on the prices we had elsewhere, I think you have to go cheap, is my opinion. And I think based on what else we saw, there are more options in Scotland than there are elsewhere. So I think I would probably go Jordan White.
Yeah, $62.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep all these guys together, like on this list, just so that people who've watched this see all the names that we discussed.
Yeah.
And those who are catching the replay of this, the link to the watch list will be in the description of the video. So anybody who is listening to the audio version, if you just go to YouTube, the link will be there, or you just go on and search SorareData ETH threshold options. I should probably change that. But anyway. So yeah, like white is at $62. I'll say 63 to round up.
Okay.
And then we only ended up with 47. I'm sorry, with 47, with 4 goalkeepers. Goalkeepers, man.
From midfielders.
Sorry, I'm like reading and then not. Anyway, 4 midfielders ranging from 47 to 69.
The only one in Scotland is Johnny Hayes, and he made a lot of sense. I just don't know what his injury is. But like, so do we use him and just say like we don't know what his injury is, or do we find someone else?
Do we find someone else in Scotland?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I definitely think we both agree it needs to be in Scotland, right?
It does if white is the forward you're going.
Who was the other forward option that we had there? DJ Kopp, who doesn't make much sense, and then everyone else is like $100.
Yes.
I mean, I guess you could go like Topali or something, and you could go. I mean, Topali made sense to me, so maybe we go Topali and we go to Turkey instead.
So if we don't Topali,
Campanaro is the one we like the most too, and he's also in Turkey, right?
Yeah. So Topali at 94, Campanaro at 70. We need 2 more players at this point. And we had 0 defenders from Turkey.
So we'd have to go find someone from Turkey.
Right. Or we go Scotland now, just out of pure laziness. Like if we went, did we have a? I'm just going to do both of these. Yeah, like wasn't it Considine who we really liked? Yeah. And he's 49. Have you been writing this down? Because I haven't been writing it down.
No, I've not. I figured we would just add it up at the end.
Let me see here. All right. So if we went, let's go back to, let's stay in Scotland. Let's see what we can do in Scotland.
Okay. So you want to go Jordan White?
Yeah. So Jordan White at 63.
Okay.
And then Hayes at 62. Hoping that he's not hurt.
Disclaimer, we are not sure if Johnny Hayes has an injury. We do not know.
I think we actually know he has an injury, but we don't know what the severity
is of it.
Right. If anybody wants to do that research for us, that would be quite helpful.
Also another disclaimer. We're not saying go out and just buy these guys that we're talking about. That's not what we're doing here. So let's get that disclaimer out of the way as well.
I'm going to add Considine for 48.
Yep. I think that's good. And then also Paul Hanlon is 64.
Or 49.
Or Ashton Taylor 69.
Taylor's scores look better, but I don't think it really matters.
Well, I don't know if we have the funds to do that, Laird.
All right, let's do Taylor.
Okay.
At 70.
And see what we have from a fund standpoint.
That's $244.
Yeah, so I don't think you have the funds for that.
Nope.
So you have to find someone cheaper, or you have to find a goalie that's like $10.
Uh-huh.
Are there goalies that are $10?
They're probably deceased, literally, but
yeah, but I mean, for right now, that's probably the best path of action that we have.
$10 seems pretty low, but I will not rule out that.
Is there a way to sort it by that?
Oh, that's walk. No, but I can just.
Yeah, I'm on player rankings. It's got to be someone, right?
I don't think there has to be someone. Actually, let me just take these off. The thing's just spinning, thinking, really? Is this really what you're looking for?
Well, yeah, because we're making it pretty out there in terms of things.
I would like a champion Europe goalkeeper for $12, please. No, a rare.
Okay, so the cheapest public sale is like, or the cheapest floor, I think, is like 0.015.
What does that cost me?
I don't know. Is that $20?
How much is that?
Like $20. I'm on actual Sorare now.
Oh, okay.
To see if I can find
goalkeeper
a goaltender that is the cheapest.
The literal lowest I can find is $21.
That's probably what I'm seeing. Lowest price.
And there are a bunch.
The lowest price on the market is 0.016, which is $21. So we need
$22.
We need to shave $10 off somewhere by picking someone else.
Yeah, I think I know how to do this here. So we get rid of Hanlon.
Okay.
Where did that list go? Here we go. Yeah, it's just Hanlon for Antunes or Abels. But obviously that takes us out of Scotland. So that's the issue.
Yeah, so I think we realistically need to just go look and see if we can find anyone in Scotland that makes sense for that price point.
Abels gets us. So if we do,
well, I guess you know what. To be fair, you know what the move is, Laird? Just buy Abels, make it happen for a week, then go and try to move back into the Premier League after a week and sell Abels.
The Premiership.
Yeah. So like literally, you get your 1.01 threshold, then you sell Abels, then you buy back into the Premiership.
I see. Or even like two thresholds gets you $50 and you can get some of these guys. Yeah.
Or and then obviously you're starting to build out like some depth too, and you're starting to build out some things that will give you a bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you do. So like there is your path to get that happen.
So the way that I'm looking at it is White, Hayes, Considine, Abels, and our $22 goalkeeper brings us in at $247.
Perfect. And then what you do.
Barry asked me to put this into the concept builder, which is absolutely the right idea here. So reminder everybody that this tool is in beta. I'm going to put in Hayashi because I own this card and not willing to sell for $21.73. But I mean, I guess I should probably use a European. Well, it even matters.
No, it doesn't.
None of these guys are starting.
Yeah. Like you're literally just putting a 0 effectively in the lineup.
Right. Jordan White. Considine.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like how often you would have hit a threshold.
Oh, Considine now says, wait a minute. The floor price is 71. Is someone jacking up the prices as we're streaming here?
That's okay. We had it when we did it. It was how we had it layered. Someone probably came in here to spite us.
2 minutes ago. Somebody bought the 48. Look at that.
It's all been around that average, so we're going to count Considine as that.
Outrageous. Yeah. Outrageous. At least wait until the show is over.
Seriously.
My God. And I have Abels at 50. Yeah. All right. Does somebody have like a, who did I look? Considine, White, Abels. Wait a minute. Oh, Hayes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Laird is struggling over here today, guys.
It's already been a day, Sean.
So there you go.
I don't know. Oh, right. The floor price is $270 now because of the
Considine. So remove 20 from that. That's where we were at with Considine.
Right.
So as you see here, you are not going to hit the thresholds that frequently because these guys are not the best players. So your idea is to, as you get money in, you sell the guys in this lineup and you slowly start upgrading them to better players. And you start getting guys in that are maybe 53 average players instead of a 48 average player. So like that is what your goal is with this, is to start slowly increasing your player score averages.
Hold on, because Gary pointed this out.
Oh,
if we throw the captain in, we've got a higher threshold, 206, 233. Like
yeah.
And this is all 5% XP. Most, like well, I'm not going to say most are over 5. If you have a new season card, then they're over 5. But I think this is very doable. Like I think you throw out midweeks. Like you can look at them, but don't. 304 was an international break.
You're realistically counting like the weekends. So like you're talking like over 10 weekends. You had 3 lower thresholds, and a full threshold over 3 weekends or over 10 weekends. So like that is a 0.05 influx. And like I said, the idea is so like then you will sell Considine for $70 and you will buy someone for $95 who is better than Considine once you start bringing in the threshold. So the idea with it is you are constantly improving upwards your team. Yes, you got at 206, you got the lower threshold. The next time after that, you are probably not running this team again because you very likely sold one of these guys and turned a $70 player into a $95 player. And you are slowly upgrading those players until you get to a point where they are decent enough players that you're hitting thresholds frequently. Then you are saving up for a goalie and working towards your goalie.
Yes. Yep. I think that's exactly
your plan in terms of like what you're trying to do here.
Yes. I think it's obviously a very long-term plan. Like I'm curious, like what a terrible starting goalkeeper costs. What do you think oh wait, this is auctions. I was like,
starting goaltender in Europe, $600. No,
so
like $700-800.
So what's interesting about this, though,
$500.
What's interesting is that by the time you have enough that you've collected enough thresholds to pay for a goalkeeper, you probably want an MLS or a J League or K League one.
Oh, totally.
They're probably more expensive is the only problem. So maybe you get a European one for the, as prices go down towards the end of the off season, or excuse me, towards the end of the season.
Correct. I agree with that. But so like that's why I said when you said that like people like this idea and you're not really putting in much effort, you do have to put in effort because you have to slowly improve the team. You just don't have to follow tons of players. You're like following a few players. Now I will say this isn't an issue, but something you have to keep into consideration here. If you are doing it this way, you have to have 4 guys go. So if one of your guys gets injured, you have to buy someone else.
Yep.
So like you have to be willing to throw in, like even if you plan to go in for like $250, you realistically have to plan to go in for like 400 in the event that people get injured.
There it is.
Yeah.
Just spend more.
Just spend more. Always just spend more.
Mm-hmm. No, but I think that is a good point. That like it's if you're going to use your entire budget on 4 guys, like if something happens to one of them, then
correct. So you can't basically. All right. Let's retract that. It's pretty hard to do it for much less than $250.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do it for much less. Like maybe you can make something happen for like 220 or something, but it's hard to do it. The idea is like you just don't spend all your budget on these guys. You want to keep some of the budget in reserve for in the event you need to have it. So yes, the answer is spend more, but you shouldn't be like just spending more. You should have it factored into your thought process. You should always keep a little bit in reserve to offset whatever you have to do.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly the point. Well stated, Sean.
Thank you.
I think that's it. I think we did what we were trying to do. I was surprised. I'm surprised that we could get a reasonable lineup together for 250. I'm not going to lie.
I figured we would be able to get a reasonable lineup together for 250. I figured we'd get some reasonable cards. I just figured it wasn't going to be an impressive amount of guys, but I actually thought we'd get a little bit more. I thought we would get a smidge. I thought we'd basically be able to, instead of having Jordan White, we'd be able to have like a legit forward that's a bit better.
Yeah.
So I thought we were going to be able to get a little bit more out of it.
Part of the reason we did the show, Sean.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, it was definitely interesting to look at.
Yeah,
I agree.
So yeah, just a reminder, this watch list, if anybody's curious of the types of players that we think would make for a good kind of beginner threshold team, that is available. Again, the link will be in the description of the video. Thank you to everybody who has joined us here. We got some awesome suggestions. Basically, all of the ones that ended up on our team, I think, came from the chat. So really appreciate it.
I gave us Jordan White, I think, Laird.
Did you?
I think. Maybe not. I don't know.
Either way, thank you to everybody who gave us those players. Again, it's kind of like one of the important things here that you don't always need to do the research yourself. I know there are people in the Sorare Discord who are willing to kind of throw out names like this and help others who are getting started. So definitely take advantage of that if you're just starting out. If you are watching this for the first time, thank you for doing that. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that's always helpful and can help get this video to more people who are trying to start new teams. And if you guys are consistently watching, thank you for coming and taking this in. It's always really nice to see the number of people who are watching these, because it feels like we're helping people. And I know that we have recently done a lot of content that is for more kind of the bigger galleries. I mean, we literally talked about the super rare division last week. So we are trying to kind of expand on what we're doing. We think this might be pretty helpful. So if you guys want to leave some comments below, if there are any other videos you'd like us to try to tackle, we're happy to do that. So thank you to everybody for coming, and we'll see you next week.